If you look at some of the laws for the poor or the hungry, you need to put mechanisms in place. Necessarily, what happens is that gets put into legislation. And there's a couple of things about Old Testament law that I think are important. On the one hand, we do this in our own way, but the idea of historical memory. So they'll say things like, do this or that because once you were slaves in Egypt, or don't forget that once you were slaves in Egypt. Now, we do it in our own way with legal precedent. So there's kind of that same idea that we learn from the past and we build off the past. But when you get into the Old Testament, it's not just kind of cold data. I mean, those historical moments actually reflect the heart of God. And so the law is trying not just to organize the people, and law does organize a society. Otherwise, you have total chaos. On the other hand, a law or a legal system is also, as most people don't think about it this way, it's also formative. Now, the way we will describe it is, what does it mean to be a good American or a good citizen? And it's that you follow certain kind of rules, and the expectation is that you will do this kind of naturally. You need to be trained in this, so if you're going to get a driver's license, you got to pass a test. These kind of things are laws put in place to organize the system so that it actually functions. But ideally, at the same time, it should be formative of a social ethos. Now, you have the same thing going on in ancient Israel, except it's fundamentally religious. And so when you go into the laws, sometimes these are connected to religious feasts. And so there again, very clearly, you're seeing the connection between God and a certain set of laws because they're actually part of the ritual itself. So if you're celebrating certain ritual and then they say, be sure you invite, even the Sabbath law, it includes the widow and the orphan and the poor and the foreigner. They need rest too. So what you're seeing is not only is it saying everyone needs to take a rest, the people that are vulnerable in those populations, or like the widow and the orphan or the poor, or those who are exploited by the system, like the foreigner, should be treated equally. So what you're seeing is this formative aspect of the law and oftentimes connected to their faith. So that's why when you get into the prophets, what they're doing is they are wedding the critique of religion with the critique of injustice. Because if you violate one, you're violating the other. And if you are doing or acting unjustly while still worshiping God, what the prophets will say is, no, that's a disconnect. The God you call our God, Yahweh, that's one of your own creation. So you see the rejection of both ritual and injustice at the same time.